Hi, my name is Greg Benish. I have been a roofing salesman and a roofing consultant for many years now, and we're going to talk about the subject of how do I know if I need a new roof. I think there are several components that go into deciding when it's not time for a new roof. A lot of customers I've spoken with, or the general public, go off probably one of the only things that they can see or read on a shingle, and that's the shingles. They generally give it a year time. So it's a 25-year shingle or a 30-year shingle or 40-year shingle. So most of my customers that have lived in their home for a long time and know the age of their roof will say, well, I have a 20-year shingle and it's been 18 years, so now it must be time for a new roof. So if there's one thing I can probably compel people to ignore is the life expectancy of what the shingle manufacturer refers to as a 20, 25-year, 30-year shingle. When the shingle manufacturers are coming up with the age degradation of a shingle, they put in controlled environments where they can accelerate rain and wind and put them in tunnels and things like that, and try to extrapolate over time how long it'll take that material to degrade or erode or eventually fail. But there's so many components that go into weather over a 20-year lifespan. Hail and trees, and are you in the middle of a cornfield? Are you in the middle of the mountains? That really, there's no way to judge how or when you need a new roof other than having a qualified roofer inspect your roof. There are things that you can start to see as a homeowner. If you see peeled edges of your shingle, if you certainly see shingles torn off or shingles bent on your roof, those are good indicators. If you don't know when the roof was built and you're just moving into a new home, on top of a home inspector, I would call a professional certified roofer. Most appointments are free. Most inspections are free. You'll get a pretty thorough analysis of the attic, the roof itself, and that's where I would start. Again, most reputable companies, it's going to be free of charge. And there's a couple other tricks. You can look in your downspouts. Sometimes the downspouts will carry some of the stone, which is natural. The stone should, over time, erode from the roof. But if you're starting to see large clumps of stone, then that's a good indicator that stone's no longer on the roof. It's in your gutters. So those are some of the tricks that I would use as a homeowner. But really, unless you're up there looking at the shingles themselves, unless you know what you're looking for, which is sometimes very minute and sometimes hard to distinguish, consult a professional roofer, consult a couple, and that's really the best way to judge when it's time for a new roof. A stopwatch and a calendar are probably the two worst suggestions on judging when a roof should be changed. Yeah, so the first thing I'll do is I'll do an exterior inspection, meaning I won't go on the roof. I'll just walk around the building for a couple reasons. Number one, I'd like to see as much as I can from the ground level just to see if there's obvious things. I'll probably tend to, start my inspection at a torn off section, right? So it kind of gives me an idea where to start. Certainly it gives me an idea where to climb on the roof, the safest and most accessible way. Second thing, I go on the roof. I'm looking for you can tell the age of the roof, I can, or a professional roofer can, by a couple different things. Number one, it's the amount of stone that's worn off of the shingle. You do enough roofs, you see enough roofs, you can tell that the less amount of stone on there, you're going to see a little bit more tar. Sometimes you might see the paper removed and you're seeing actual fiberglass threads. And that's kind of first process. We'll see the obvious signs of wear and tear. We'll see signs of where the shingles might meet a wall to make sure it's flashed right, to see where there might be a protrusion or the shingles meet a chimney. Those are signs and cases where we can see potential leaks. So we'll assess all of those things. We'll put it all together. Well, you've got bad flashing here, that's probably a leak. You've got torn off shingles here, that's probably a leak. We'll start to add up a couple of those things. And we'll come into the home. And then the second part of the inspection is to see underneath the roof, and that's done through the attic. So then we'll go under the attic, which is probably sometimes as telling, if not more, than the actual roof itself. You could have what looks like a perfectly functioning sloped roof, but underneath you can see signs of water damage or mold or mildew or some of the other things that can happen. So it's a two-part process. One is to do a thorough inspection of the exterior of the property, the exterior of the roof, and then the interior of the roof, which is in the attic. Visible signs that you should be looking for: any water, any time. It could be just a small darkened circle on the ceiling. And that's usually how it starts. If you have white painted ceiling, it'll be just a little small circle of off-white. Get that addressed right away, because that means you have an active leak. So that water is coming in through the shingle, through the underlayment, through the decking, through the insulation, through the drywall, through the paint, and it's made it through all of those layers, and it's finally coming into your house. So any signs of cracking within that leak as well certainly means that that leak is very pronounced. It's very aggressive, and it's coming in fast enough to start cracking your drywall. And then let's say you're a little bit ahead of it and you haven't waited quite to the point of water's coming into the home. Thorough inspections of your gutters, looking for the stones that are coming through. If you're not seeing stones coming out through the downspout, put a ladder up and see if they're in the gutter. If you see the stones are in the gutter and not in the downspout, that means that the water's staying in your gutter as well, and it's not being carried down to the downspout. So water in the gutter also indicates that water will, in climates that freeze or can freeze, can create ice damming and things like that we'll go into a little bit later. But annual inspection of your gutters, and then most people don't go outside in a rainstorm either, for obvious reasons. But in a rainstorm, you can tell a lot by what your home's doing. If the water's cascading off the gutters into your lawn, if it's going into the gutters through the downspout like it should. So checking your home out during adverse weather conditions. You only have to do that probably once to see the function of your gutters. And knowing your property, walking around. Most people don't look up at their roof. Actually, few do. Probably most of my clients couldn't even tell you what color their roof is. So just having an understanding of the roof itself. And then, yeah, if your roof is over 15 years old and you have any of these concerns, I would call a professional roof consultant. Yeah, some things that are not visible. I mean, we have a lot of ways we can put a roof on. We have many more incorrect ways than there are correct ways. So some of the things that I can't really always tell is if proper underlayment was used on the wood decking, and that's a water barrier that we use. Should be wrapped around the entire roof. Ice and water barrier, which is a membrane that we put around the eaves and the rakes, around walls, around any protrusions. It is a method. Thank you all for listening. My name is Greg Benish, and I hope you found this topic at least informative or interesting on when and how to see if it's time to buy a new roof.